and it's beautiful, and it does really, really good damage, especially when you upgrade it and stuff. So, highly recommend doing that. So, and I was watching videos of people talking about this game, and it is kind of true. Where is the player base, you know? And this does have a cult following, from what I've heard. Like, people love this shit. They really do. People say, I think people love it more than 15. But, this is a good game. I mean, seriously. It is, it's good. Yeah, it's not gonna have a groundbreaking story or anything like that, but if you told me that if you wanted this to be the main number entry to Final Fantasy 15, you know, I wouldn't blame you. I definitely would have been questionable, to be honest, of like, you're gonna make a mainline series like this without no story, no structure or anything like that. I mean, there's a story, there is, but it's not like you're going open world interacting and all that shit, you know. But you do get like hub boards and other things like that. So, and fun note, Final Fantasy Type 0 is the first open world game until basically Final Fantasy Agito. Final Fantasy Type 0 is the very first open world game from Square Enix ever since Final Fantasy 9. You could say Final Fantasy 15, but I don't count Final Fantasy 15 as open world, to be quite honest. It is open world, yes, but the reason I say it's not really open world is because once you get that flying vehicle, it's on a grid. That's not open world. You have me on a fucking track, like a Disney ride and shit. I'm sorry. That's not open world for me. It really isn't. It would never be. You know? So, in Type 0 looks like it's fun and shit like that. And the story's not that long either. Literally, you could literally beat the... It's all up to you of how long you want to play that game, which is very surprising. So in the beginning, you could just probably go straight to the boss. Yeah. A lot of variety in that game, to be quite honest with you. So, and you could probably... I did hear there's, like, New Game Plus. After New Game Plus, every time you beat it, because there's like other stories and stuff that you can unlock, and there's other stories like the real ending and all that, or like the other endings and stuff like that. So supposedly there's different endings to Type 0, but the video I saw, the guy didn't mention that. He just mentioned the ending that he probably talked about that the main game gives you in the first time you play the game, because you probably didn't play the game for the second time. But yeah, I don't want to spoil what happens in Agito, because I haven't played Agito, but I've seen the spoilers of it and stuff like that, and that, all I have to say is that is gut-wrenching. It really is. Like, if you played Crisis Core and you cried in Crisis Core, you definitely are probably going to cry in Agito, because when I heard that shit just stuck with me. I didn't even play the game yet or beat it, but that shit stuck with me. I'm still thinking about it today. I'm like, damn, man, that's some fucked up shit. And this is not a spoiler for Agito. Agito uses sins. Was it Lassie? Kind of like in 15. I mean, well, 13. And there's some elements here from 15 also. Like the whole thing that's happening to the world of Type 0 is like what's happening with the same thing with 15. You know, so. The whole concept of Type 0 is basically like, you find out that certain people, once they die, they are literally forgotten. And most people are like, well, yeah, of course they're dead. And I'm like, no, they're literally all forgotten. Like, no one doesn't remember them. So, say, for example, say if you had a family member that recently died, right? You don't remember they're alive. You see pictures of them and all that. You'd be like, okay, they might look like a nice person, but everyone around me sounds like they hated them, so he probably was an asshole, you know? Not knowing that probably was a good person, but they're probably an asshole to another person just because they're, you know, they're valid to be an asshole to them because they're not a good person, you know? But you want to know that if you don't remember that person. You know, shit like that, man. See, that's what I like about Type 0. Something like that, shit like that is what this game needed. Well, maybe not comrades, but the main 15. Because 15 really didn't have no consequences in a way. I mean, it did, but the game didn't, you know, I'm not saying the game should put it in your face or something like that, but the game should at least give you a leeway of what you're trying to progress, what's your goal, you know? What's your motivation of doing this? Because when I was playing Final Fantasy VIII, you know how some people complain about, oh, if you use your what is it? If you use your GFs in Final Fantasy VIII, that's why your protagonist forgets certain things and stuff like that. Which is why Ultimecia is what's it? Is what's her name? Luna? Not Luna. It's R-I-N-A. I think that's how you spell her name. For some reason, I can't even say her name right now. But, yeah, supposedly she's Ultimecia, which makes sense. But yet, you know, the game programmers really despise that. Even though the concept art is there, and it's still there in the game, of Ultimecia being, Granola. So, you know, and for kind of a while, like, Selphie was going to be the original love interest for Sqawn before Granola. So, and Square doesn't even want to mention that either. It's almost like it's almost like when you like the concept of what it was going to be for 8, and then Square hears it. It's like they hate you for it. It's like, sorry that I like the concept of Yuna and Ultimecia being the same person. I'm sorry that I like the fact that not Yuffie, but Selphie is was originally Squaw's love interest. You know? And originally she had I believe Leviathan summoned too. I could be wrong. But yeah. Stuff like that, man. There's even a statue of it too. Like for promoting it and stuff like that. So it is there. But yet they want to complain about it. I don't know what's wrong with Square, man. Ever since, like, back in 2000, man, they want to have this ego, thinking that they're all hiding mighty and shit. Ever since their lead programmer, main director, the guy that was the base of operations of the whole thing, ever since he left, Square just, you know, was never the same, obviously. You know, because they want to be dicks and shit like that, and they want to act like they're so high and mighty, but yet when they get put down to a pedestal, you know, they still want to blame other people, and then they don't learn from their mistakes. The only people that learn from that is the employees. Like, the person that's doing Final Fantasy 14, he's literally saying that the graphics that they're trying to do is literally a sickness. They have a sickness of trying to do high-res graphics, and that's not... And the Japanese developers know that's not what makes a game, but yet, you know, look at Final Fantasy 15 and look at Kingdom Hearts. Those graphics look great, but look at the game. You know, I'm not saying, look, I have been going back playing 15 and stuff like that, like you see here, and I'm having, you know, a better time with it than what I did back in 2016 and 17. But it's called a spade. All of this stuff should have been in the game a long time ago. You know. I even made a comment saying that if these were in the game a long time ago, I guarantee you this game would have been Game of the Year for me. Guarantee you. This game would have been Game of the Year for me, bar none. But the fact that all of this stuff wasn't in the game to begin with, that's why Final Fantasy 15 had to be in more in the oven more, you know? But it wasn't. Imagine you put a cake in the oven, right? And you took it out before it was all done. Yeah, you might eat it, but it's not done. You might feel disgusted if it's not done. It needs to be more in the oven more. So why would you do that in the game? And why would anyone agree to that in the game? Like, why would any quote-unquote fan agree to that bullshit mindset? Like, right now, there was an article, literally, Square Enix literally saying that, oh yeah, we're not going to make open world games. That tells me you're lazy as fuck. And then everyone is agreeing with it, saying that, yeah, you don't have to do open world games, Square. I understand that it's hard and shit like that. I'm like, why are you giving excuses to these stupid motherfuckers? And I'm like, okay, so if they can't make an open world game, then Rockstar can't make it either. Or we can't have a Skyrim or an Elden Ring. You guys are making fucking excuses. When other developers can do it and Square's not doing it, that's laziness. Alright? It is. It's fucking laziness. Stop giving them the runaround. It's flat out laziness. It really is. And the fact that you guys don't think that, well, a lot of people do think, some people, majority of people do think that. Obviously, because if you listen to what I'm saying, you'd be like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up. But for the people that go for that shit, you're not a gamer. You just want gaming. That's what gaming hasn't evolved. Right? That's why I haven't seen the video, but other YouTubers have literally been saying that I'm done with gaming because it hasn't evolved. It hasn't changed. Because stupid motherfuckers like you guys, not you specifically, but like people that want like for example that whole Final Fantasy fiasco of like, oh yeah, don't make it open world. We can understand that, it's hard to do in this generation and shit like that, which is bullshit. You're just giving excuses to them because these Japanese developers can't cope with the fast pace of the technology of gaming right now. The Western can keep up with it, but Japan can't for some reason. And the thing is too, I don't mind if Japanese does like their own what is it? Their own design, their own type of design of graphics, but fans won't appreciate that. Oh, why isn't Final Fantasy 16 like Final Fantasy 15 graphics? Why is this show shaded and all that shit? That should have been a side Final Fantasy game. Shit like that. And that's just an example. Alright? So I'll see you guys later. And I'll see what I have to do next and shit like that. So take care and be safe.